Hello everybody, this is DeanoGTO, and today we're going to be looking at Tier 6 light tanks in general in comparison to the Type 64. So, leaving out the MT25 for one very important reason, and that is basically just to share your 5916. That is basically what that tank is. If I'm totally honest, that is essentially what it is. Yeah, this is the list of options for tanks. I can actually move this annoyingly. Um, but yeah, Type 64, 5916, T37, VK281, I believe, and what the fuck was the other one I just added? Haven't told brain for MX12T. I might throw T21 in here just for the crack. I mean, wait, will that fuck it up? It will not. Okay, damn it, didn't mean that. So yeah, I'm just gonna quickly set this up. So I'm going to show you that I have all these vehicles set up equally. This thing here is in its top configuration. It has a base 100% crew, no skills whatsoever. 5916, same story. The T37, same story. Just going to double check. 5916, yep. VK201, yep. MX12T, yep. And T21. And if you don't know, this here just puts this here immediately puts on the maximum upgrades that the vehicle can have. So yeah, pretty useful feature. So the purpose of this video is mainly to compare the Type 64 to its Tier 6 counterparts and why I think this tank should be removed from sale as quickly as Wargaming possibly can. So what are the main issues with Type 64? Well, quick history lesson, Type 64 was introduced when Tier 6 light tanks still met Tier 10s. So this tank has gone from meeting Tier 10s to meeting Tier 9s eventually to now meeting maximum Tier 8s. A tank that was originally balanced to potentially meet Tier 10s and hasn't been changed since is now meeting maximum Tier 8s. So Type 64 has it's not like the latest premium tanks that have been introduced into the game in which they're just like they're blatantly overpowered and the wargaming doesn't care. This tank was a tank that was carefully balanced, but it's become overpowered by circumstance. It wasn't intentionally put in overpowered. It was just eventually it just became overpowered over time as time passed in the game, and the rebalance for the light tanks happened. The Type 64 didn't get any kind of changes happening to it, and as a result of that, it has become what I believe to be the best Tier 6 light tank in the game, just blatantly. So, in terms of the overall guns, so honestly, I kind of ignore these stats here. This stat here, I think, is kind of doesn't really give you an accurate representation. So, in terms of penetration, the MX12T and the 5916 are better, but the Type 64 is pretty much equal to the T21 and the T37 and the VK201. They're pretty much identical in terms of penetration. In terms of damage output, the VK201 is the lowest, with the 12T being the highest, with the Type 64 being on the middle ground with the other four vehicles like the 5916 and all. So let's move down. Rate of fire wise, the 59 or not 5916 Type 64 blows all of the others out of the water completely. I mean, it beats the next closest high rate of fire vehicle by 2 rounds a minute. By 2 rounds a minute. I'm just making sure, like, what guns does this thing actually use? Yeah. It beats out its closest rival by 2 rounds a minute. That's a massive difference. That really is gigantic. I mean, this thing can easily get below 3 seconds rate of fire just by adding a rammer. That's not including like brothers in arms and stuff. And sorry, my voice just when we there just got like a little bit of chill. Um, so yeah, this thing rate of fire wise devastates all of the others. Now, this is like this stat here is like the only stat where this tank really falls down. the third traverse speed, 37.5 degrees. That is still very, very, very quick. But the others, in comparison to the others, that looks really, really bad, especially in comparison to the 5916. Also, I think I mentioned this already, but I didn't include the MT25 because the MT25 is basically just a bad 5916. Um, in terms of gun depression, it is equal with the best of them, including T21, VK281, and Type 64 is equal to them. The only one that's worse, it's got worse gun elevation than is the T21. In terms of the overall gun like usability, it's overall just flat the best. I mean, sure, its aiming time is technically one of the worst aiming times, but if you think about it, this thing's accuracy is 0.38, which is equal to the 5916 and the MX12T, but it fires. This thing with like a rammer and all can get below 3 seconds rate of fire. 5916, I am not sure it can. I mean, currently, let's see, does it give you an idea of like what the raw reload is? 3.64. 3.64 for the 5916. I think this thing can get down to maybe about 3.2 second reload. This thing will easily get below. This thing can get like 2.8 second reload. So 2.01 second aiming time, but it has joint best accuracy. And how much of a difference can you really see 0.3 aiming time making? How much of a difference can you honestly say that will make? I don't see that making much of a difference whatsoever. Like 2 second aiming time, you barely even notice the aiming time. You really like that is just incredibly quick aiming time. Like it's almost instantaneous. Um, and yeah, as you can see, like in terms of the overall DPM figures, it beats its closest rival by over 2 rounds a minute. So yeah, that just gives you an idea of just how good the gun is in comparison to the other vehicles. Don't forget it, by the way. 10 degrees of gun depression as well. So in terms of hit points, it's joint worst with the 12T. But how much of a difference can you really say that 30 HP will make? There will be one or two situations in the time that you're playing the tank where that will make a difference. Like if you're in T37, you survive with like 5 health, then you wouldn't have survived in Type 64. But don't forget, Type 64 also has another advantage in the form of its gigantic top speed advantage. So, the closest vehicle in terms of top speed to the Type 64 is the T37, and that thing is 7.4 kilometers an hour slower than the Type 64. Yeah, that's pretty massive. And in terms of part of weight ratio, it technically has the worst part of weight ratio, but as soon as the part of weight ratio gets above 20, this is my argument always in terms of part of weight ratio. After a certain point, you really don't notice it. Like, the Type 64 as an example, this thing here, it already has such a massive top speed that whenever it hits its top speed, it's going to gain a bunch of distance on the other Tier 6 light tanks. And then by the time it gets to a hill, if it even meets a hill, it's already going to have a gigantic lead. So the actual part weight ratio of the other light tanks, even though they have the advantage in that particular field, in terms of climbing hills quickly and all, Type 64 can not only carry more speed into the hill, but it can also, because it already has such a massive advantage in terms of like the time it takes to actually get to where it needs to be. In terms of the raw top speed, because it's carrying more momentum into the hill, it'll be hitting the bottom of the hill at a higher speed, and even though it won't climb the hill technically as quickly as the other light tanks, it will still get to the top of the hill probably before them due to the massive advantage it will have in terms of the just crossing the flat ground. Plus, whenever you're going back down the hill, this thing here also has a pretty big advantage in terms of the actual downhill speed. And in terms of the actual traverse speed, it is second only to the T21. Concealment wise, the MX12T is the best, with the Type 64 being joint third. Or joint third with the T21. So the 12T and the 5916 are better, T21 and the Type 64 are joint third. And here's like one of the main things in terms of view range. This is the fastest Tier 6 light tank. It has the highest view range by 10 meters, which means this thing is much more capable of using just purely coded optics than the other light tanks. It has an amazing signal range, and I think the Type 64 just in general is easily the best scout of these vehicles because of the extra top speed, and it's also the most flexible due to the 10 degrees of gun depression and the reasonable accuracy. I mean, the T37 is the closest in terms of accuracy, in terms of rate of fire, but the accuracy on the T37 is shocking. Like, the the advantage of the Type 64 is that it's jack of all trades but master of most. Like, it's got the best gun, it's got the best top speed. Sure, it doesn't have the best specific power or the best turret reverse speed, but those don't matter because it just makes up for it so quickly and so massively in other statistics that it just doesn't matter. Like, all these tanks have no armor as an example. It doesn't matter if any of them get hit by anything. Like, the only one that even has a chance of bouncing a shot, the only two that really have even a chance of bouncing a shot are the VK2801 and the MX12T. So, yeah, all the others just don't really have a chance. Well, 5916 you could argue off the turret potentially, but even that I'm hesitant so it could even reliably do it. So yeah, I feel like Type 64. I think right now in the game, I think it's a little bit on the overpowered side. Like, it's not like it's not like a Type 59 or anything out there. Like back in the day, that thing was like massively overpowered. It's just, I think, a little bit too good. Like, the rate of fire and all advantage that it has versus other tier 6 light tanks just makes it a little bit too good. Like, it's not massively overpowered, but it's good. It's better to the point where you can notice it. Like, you do notice whenever you're fighting these things that it's very easy to be outperformed by them, especially if you're in an equal tiered vehicle. Like, the equal tiered vehicles will really struggle versus the Type 64. It just wrecks them. And the VK201, as an example, doesn't even get 105mm derp gun anymore. So yeah. So yeah. I'd be curious to know what your opinions on Type 64 are. Like, one thing I should just mention is, stat wise, the tank is overpowered, in my opinion. But the thing with light tanks is that they're so difficult to consistently do well in my opinion. Because, well, personally, I'm not very good in light tanks. If I'm totally honest, I'm more of a heavy armor user. But light tanks in general, I feel like, are probably the hardest tank or class in the game to play correctly. Like, the amount of observational awareness, like the amount of awareness you need to have whenever you're playing a light tank is just way higher than the other vehicles and than the other vehicle classes in the game. And also, to the people who keep saying, even now, after the light tanks were massively nerfed, like tier 9 and 10 light tanks were massively nerfed after the first version of the test, bear in mind, if there's a tier 10 medium versus a tier 10 light tank, the tier 10 light tank will not beat the tier 10 medium tank. That's just not something that will happen. Tier 10 medium tanks are not only fast enough to deal with the light tanks, they're also got significantly better guns than the light tanks. They have more pen, which doesn't really matter much because they're light tanks, but their guns really fire and their consistency is on another level. Like, even now, there are people who bitch about the light tanks saying, "Oh, but to make medium tanks irrelevant," I'm just like, go fuck yourself, mate. Um, that's horseshit. That is just pure outright horseshit. Like, saying the light tanks are better than the medium tanks is just total horseshit. Potentially, that could have been an argument in the first version of the test server. And I still would prefer the first version of the test server light tanks to be introduced. I think they were a lot more competitive, a lot more interesting. But yeah, well, the version we have, there's no argument here. They're not better than the medium tanks. Like, they don't make the medium tanks irrelevant or anything. But yeah. But yeah, just to finish off, I do own one of these, but I very rarely play it because I suck in it. 5916 I think is probably the best standard tier 6 light tank in the game right now because of its just overall usability. I am working on getting the crew to 100%. I have some equipment already mounted on it, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this thing performs at 100%. I wonder if you can tell I'm tired. Um, so yeah, let me know what your opinions are on the tier 6 light tanks. I feel like tier 6 light tanks in general kind of struggle, but I feel like the 5916 is probably like the gem of the bunch in my opinion. So yeah, as I said, let me know in the comments, and yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.